Good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, and you're listening to What Happened Here on WVOX and Whitney Global Media Station. We are here every Wednesday from 12 noon until 1 p.m. asking the question, what happened here? And today we are going to delve into what's going on in Albany, what's happening with Albany's budget. There's so many dynamics going on. Are new politics possible with all that's on the line? Well, if you want to get on the line and call in, the phone number is 914-636-0110. Again, that phone number is 914-636-0110. And our guest today is backed by popular demand, Charles Knapp. Charles Knapp is a former AUSA in the Eastern District. He's a former Manhattan ADA, as well as a former City Inspector General. He is someone that has a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. We're going to talk about some of the top line issues that are impacting the budget as we speak, from bail reform to issues that relate to your electric bill. So we look forward to getting into the issues that are happening right now as we ask the question, what happened here? What's going on with Albany? Charlie, thanks for joining us again, back by popular demand. Well, there's a lot to go on. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot that happened going back to Albany. There's a whole bunch of tension going on around bail reform. We discussed this maybe about a month ago, and it's now on the table for reform again. What are your takeaways?
Sure. Going to get jail to return to court when case is scheduled. The problem, of course, is if you're poor and you don't have much money, but your crime is not necessarily a violent one, but one that perhaps offends public safety generally, making people feel insecure, that's really the problem. Because the jails are crowded with people who probably, by and large, shouldn't be there because there are other alternatives. You can put an electronic locator on their ankle, for instance, as another option if you're afraid they're going to run away. Obviously, there's no perfect solution. It's a balance, and part of the balance is public perception as opposed to the reality of or not. I just remind the audience that when I was an assistant district attorney in Manhattan in the early 80s, more homicides in Manhattan in a given year than all of New York City has today, even with the uptick. So that doesn't help the person who's a victim of a particular crime or lives in a crime-ridden neighborhood, but everything is an experiment. I remember, I'll just leave it with this, that there was a judge in my day named Bruce Wright, and he was one of the few guys who tried to balance bail versus jail.
Settle loose, Bruce.
And he got the nickname Cut Loose Bruce. Not because he wasn't doing the job, but because it's the politics of the thing.
Right.
It's easier to come down hard on all crime than to be perceived as soft, even if what you're trying to do is strike a fair balance.
So let's factor this in. I mean, look, you got New York City mayor saying we got to be tougher, and then you got the New York City controller saying, the numbers don't support changing the system as it is. You got people that push for bail reform saying that it's working, but when you talk to the people, like, for example, the guy that smeared feces on an innocent person trying to ride the train, this guy's been arrested over 40 times, but yet, he's been let out multiple times to repeat offend. Just last night he was rearrested for assaulting somebody, and it's like, this guy gets, treated as if, the nothing can stick. It just keeps putting him back out on the street. So how can that how do we justify and reconcile those extremes?
Well, you can't. What you have to do is probably your own way forward. So I don't see why the pick isn't, if someone without commits another crime, he doesn't go automatically in, whatever that crime may be, because he's clearly a risk to the community. Forget about a risk of flight not showing up. He's a risk to the community, and to that extent, well, in a normal course of things, that was always something a judge was able to take into account. It's not that every time you're arrested, it's as if the world is born anew. You come with a rap sheet, and if it shows open cases and you committed a crime, you used to go to Rikers, which is where people were kept pre-trial. So I don't understand why that's not the current result of repeat offenders out pending their initial trial.
Well, that's part of the concern. They're saying conditions in Rikers are so bad, therefore we have to let people go. You go to other places, that situation of having people continuously, assault society continues to be the real problem. And that's where, I'm really concerned that, this budget cycle is going to miss an opportunity to fix something that's truly broken. And if Rikers is broken, as they say, how come the resources are not being put into fixing Rikers so that it can work and perform as it was designed? But that's something that might our viewers and our listeners may want to weigh in on. But I do know that, there are other issues in Albany, and some even happening in Brooklyn, that really raise some questions and raises some frustrations when you talk to regular folks that have, day-to-day struggles with, being subject to a different set of rules. And just the other day, there was a story about how the Brooklyn Borough president was criticizing people in New York, or at least in his borough, for driving cars. And then he turns out that he's driving a car without being properly registered or insured, but yet parking the car outside of his office. He issued an apology. Nothing happens to him, but yet if you're someone that's working two jobs and you're struggling to make ends meet, and you get pulled over with an expired registration, you're getting a ticket. And if you don't have insurance, your car is going to get towed. So this is what people see, and this is what people understand. They see, public officials professing all this change, progress, but yet they're not, being treated the same way that we're being treated or mistreated. How do you reconcile that? What happened there?
Well, what happened there was, I guess we could say that the policing theory of broken windows has become controversial, but the old biblical people who live in glass houses shouldn't be throwing stone principle remains alive and well in our society. There is no legitimate reason for which this fellow did not get at least a summons like anybody else would. But, the sad fact is, it's who you know, not, well, in this case, it's who you are and who you know.
Yeah.
There's always been an issue with the police having to ticket, for instance, a police captain, a police lieutenant for doing something wrong, or a prominent politician who is doing something like this, driving without a license or registration or whatever he was doing. Abusing your official status is unfortunately nothing new. The official should know better, because that's one of the easiest ways to bring the whole system into discredit. The police have to do their job without fear or favor, and it doesn't matter if it's a borough president or a state justice.
Well, and that brings me, that brings me to the question. There was a story yesterday in the news about a Westchester judge that did not, or at least did not reveal that this jurist or this justice did not report on their forms that they lent an individual approximately $50,000 in cash to start up a new business venture of some sort. And now that judge was voted by the judicial watchdog of New York State, which is a committee of lawyers, very similar to the Board of Elections, let's call it. And they looked at the offense, and they voted to reprimand the judge. Some of the judges, or excuse me, some of the members of that committee voted to remove the judge from the bench, but they didn't have enough votes to do that, so they reprimanded this justice. And can you explain to people watching and listening, what's going on here? What happened with this process? How come there was a process for the judge to go through to evaluate, the gravity of concealing a transaction for over 13 years now? This is not, 1 year, 1 month. This is 13 years that this has gone on, and the reprimand is a reprimand. But I tell you what, you're gonna hold that line. When we come back from break, we're gonna pick up where we left off, or what happened here. We're on break. Everybody that's watching online, thank you for joining us. Please share. As you can tell, I'm a little under the weather, little nasally right now, but hey, that's what happens when the weather changes and you got allergies and all the other stuff going on in the world. So today, this show, we are doing it remotely. We're doing it online, as you already know. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section. We'll definitely respond, but definitely share this discussion. As you know, we're unpacking politics today. We're talking about Albany, and we're talking about issues that affect us all the way down here in Westchester County. And what I can tell you is we have an opportunity to really unpack some issues. Now, I got a request for somebody to join the live feed. Now, I can't do that right now only because, but definitely send me a note, and we'll definitely build afterwards. But I can tell you that, as we go through these shows, we definitely love to hear from you, and I thank you all for requesting Charlie to come back. He has a lot to offer, he has a lot to say, and he definitely has a perspective that helps us unpack issues. And one of those issues that we're unpacking is what happened with the situation in Westchester. In Westchester County, there was a story that came out yesterday where a judge was reprimanded. The judge issued a loan to an individual for $50,000 cash, and never reported that loan on their filings or their ethics disclosures for more than 13 years. And the way the process works is, to my understanding, based on the article, and Charles is going to explain when we come back from break, the process works where a committee that oversees the actions of justices, judges on the bench, reviewed that behavior, and they voted to reprimand the judge. Some of the people voted to remove the jurist from the bench, which is really extreme. But nonetheless, a reprimand was issued, which goes to show you it was a significant offense. And I can only tell you that I look forward to talking about this because, that's the process. When you're a judge, that's what's available to you as a judge to go through that third-party process. Same thing goes for a public official. All right, here we go. Come back to break, y'all. Welcome back. You're listening to WPOX, a Whitney Global Media station. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon. We're here every Wednesday from 12 noon until 1 p.m. asking a question about what happened here on 1460 on your AM dial or worldwide at WVOX.com. You can join the conversation at 914-636-0110. Again, that's 914-636-0110. And our guest today, backed by popular demand, is Charlie Knapp, former AUSA from the Eastern District, former Manhattan ADA, and also former Mount Vernon Inspector General. We're talking about issues that's going on in Albany. And some of those issues in Albany are happening right here in our backyard in Westchester County. They're happening in New York City. And we're talking about, at this moment, coming back from break, we were talking about the news story of a Westchester judge being reprimanded. What does that mean? What process was involved? Why was the judge reprimanded? What was involved? What does it really mean? Charlie, can you explain to our listeners and our viewers?
Actually, an ethic review claims submitted against judges. They can take any step between saying that the complaint has no merit to removing the judge. In this instance, this judge, as you said, had given a $50,000 cash loan, which I don't know who has $50,000 in cash hanging around, but in any event, that's what she did back in, I think, 2005. And did not report it. Obviously, a judge has to report debt because it's important for people to know any potential conflict of interest. This was supposedly to a friend of hers or some business venture he was involved in. You know, whatever those facts were, for 13 consecutive years or so, he failed to report it. She explained, oddly enough, that she never took those disclosure statements seriously, but going forward now she will. The little twist to everything, according to the report that was issued, is that 9 years later, she tried to get the friend to sign a confession of judgment, which is a document, a legal document, where essentially you agree that you're liable on the note, and all the lender has to do is go to court, file the note, and automatically get a judgment against you. You don't have to litigate. So it's a very powerful document. She apparently tried to get him to sign off on that in 2014. He did not. Which also raises the issue of what type of paperwork underlay this loan. But the fellow eventually files for bankruptcy, and the judge then tries to get his attorney not to list her loan in bankruptcy. And there's only one reason to try to pull that off, and that's the following. Whatever debts you do not list when you file for bankruptcy, those are not discharged when the bankruptcy is done, meaning you're fully responsible dollar for dollar for that debt. So by trying to get this guy's attorney not to list the judge's loan would have resulted in the judge being able to sue the guy for the full value of the loan, notwithstanding the bankruptcy, which could well have washed the whole thing out and made it zero. So it's not quite clear how bad these facts were, but they were bad enough for 4 people on the commission to vote for having her removed rather than merely censured. Censure is a document that goes in your file, but since it doesn't affect her career, except that no one's probably going to call her to temporarily sit on the appellate division second department because of the censure, but she keeps her position as a state Supreme Court justice. Her current tenure ends in 2030, so at that point she'll probably retire anyway. So the bottom line is there's a procedure. You file a complaint. If there's some criminality involved, the commission could send it through to either the Attorney General or the local district district attorney for criminal investigation, but until that happens, the commission itself is deemed of exclusive jurisdiction, and that seems to be what happened in this particular matter with the judge.
So a lot of people are probably asking the question, this sounds like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, and some people are listening to this asking the question like, why does this even matter? But the real question that I just want people to come back to is, why are these forms important? What's important about a conflict of interest? And
if you're a judge, to ensure not only their fairness in the proceeding, but more importantly, the perception of fairness, as they call it. So if this guy who had borrowed money from the judge winds up in front of the judge, and they were, let's say, on good terms at that point, the other side needs to know that there's some sort of relationship between their opponent and the judge. And the flip side, of course, is since the guy doesn't seem to have paid back the loan, if he ever got in front of the judge, needless to say, he would demand her immediate disqualification because of this issue. To avoid all of that, there's a series of disclosures. They tend to be on the general side, though.
right.
But the rules of disqualification are reasonably clear, and the court act accordingly.
Well, we're going to hold that thought. We're going to come back from break. You listen to what happened here at WVOX. Don't change that dial. So we're going back to the break. As you can hear and see, we're getting into the issues. Again, a lot of people are going to rightfully ask, why does this matter? Who cares? And it's a good question to ask, but when you're, be it in traffic court, or if you're dealing with a situation where you're trying to get a permit for your fixing your home, or if you're looking to, just take out permission to use the park to celebrate a birthday. All these things sound, vague and mundane, but they're important because when it comes to the process, you're supposed to be treated fairly. And that's the problem that I have when I look at these examples of what's going on in the news and how some are treated one way and another set of people are treated a different way. And some of you experience this at your job. If you are seeking to work, let's say overtime, you get skipped over, you can file a grievance if you're a part of a union. But if you have no protection, then guess what? You have to find a different way to grieve your concern because you're without protections. So there are all sorts of examples and issues as to why this story about the judge concealing the truth about this loan is so important, because it shows that bias is possible in the justice system in the most smallest of examples. And those biases can create, a real different outcome depending upon, what kind of case you're being confronted with. And with respect to, here we go. Oh. All right, we're coming back from break. Welcome back. You're listening to WVOX and Whitney Global Media Station. My name is Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to What Happened Here. We're here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. If you want to join the conversation and weigh in on what's happening here with Albany, the budget that's happening right now, the cost increases that are likely ahead, the issues like bail reform or bias and justice, we want to hear from you. The dial number is 914-636-0110. Again, it's 914-636-0110. And our guest today is Charlie Knapp, Charlie is the former AUSA from the Eastern District. He's a former Manhattan ADA and also former Mount Vernon Inspector General. And before the break, we were wrapping up a conversation on what happened here with the example of a Westchester judge being reprimanded and why it's important to have this conversation around making sure that there's no bias in justice. And as you can see, there seems to be bias because there's one set of rules that were completely disregarded by this judge, and the rules of accountability don't seem to really have been applied here because there are other examples where other members of the bar, the law bar, have followed the rules but have been treated so harshly for offenses that are not even as grave or don't even rise to the level of concealing a $50,000 cash loan for over 13 years. So when you look at the broad set of examples over the past few weeks and past few months, from campaign donations being made to high level, state level politicians without all the disclosures that are supposed to be there, over the legal limit. According to the law, those are offenses prosecutable, but they haven't been referred for prosecution. You have others that completely lied on the forms that they filed, and they just apologize. Meanwhile, others get prosecuted without even being given a chance to file their papers, to deal with the issues properly. So, Charlie, there seems to be a lot going on here. Is it favoritism? Is it bias? What should our listeners and viewers take away from the double standards that seem to be rubbed in their face right now?
Well, I guess the short answer is politics. With the judge, it was a 7-4 decision, 7 in favor of censure, 4 in favor of removal. The attorney who sat as the referee apparently recommended removal of this judge. And I can just read the statement by the commission administrator, which I think will put things in perspective. He referred to the judge's intentional failure to report a $50,000 cash loan for 13 years was staggering, and her explanations were unsatisfactory. She seriously compounded her initial misconduct by trying to pressure the debtor's attorney to omit the loan from his bankruptcy filing. And then, in a split decision, they decided to just censure her. And the explanation basically was first-time offense. She's never had a complaint as either an attorney or a judge. So that was the reasoning. You can agree or disagree, but the bottom line here is that the system was followed. No one short-circuited the system by sending a complaint to the Attorney General, for instance, Tish James, and have her prosecute this judge for ethics violations the way someone was falsely accused. This is a matter of due process. There are rules. The state legislature set up a division of authority, and those are to be respected. When they're not, it brings the entire system into discredit. And as I said, the only answer is it's a political decision to subvert the rules that legislature imposed. And it's a question of who will guard the guardians when the guardians fail in their mission. You can argue that this judge received the full benefit of those protections. You can disagree with the decision, but no one jumped to make it criminal. That was a call that should have been up to the Judicial Commission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they wanted to pursue it. They kept it the way they did, a civil matter, and they censored the judge. And now we move on. She doesn't have to spend thousands of dollars on a criminal defense attorney on a criminal complaint that never should have been lodged because it would have been illegal. But that's been known to happen. unfortunately part of the system we have. It works well most of the time, but when it doesn't work well and politics gets injected, it really creates serious problems that it's up to the voters to keep an eye on.
And that's one of the concerns that I have. It's hard for voters to keep track of this stuff because they're busy. They're busy working, they're busy raising their children, they're busy taking care of their parents, or the grandparents are busy taking care of their grandkids. And somewhere in the middle, we have all these issues like the swings in the park don't work, or it's filthy on the bridges that you cross to get to the other side of town. And they see all the problems that the politicians are ignoring. And by the time they reach an issue like this very remote, sound that they hear, they're like, I want to go to bed, I want to have a drink, I want to eat some food, I want to relax for a minute, and they just paint a big brush. But the reason why I'm challenging our listeners and our viewers to just pause for a moment and listen to how important this is. When there is a double standard or a second set of rules, it really does have a huge impact on the trajectory of which way, you can go. And it can have a huge impact on your community or your life. Because if you're in front of, a judge that has a secret relationship with someone and they don't disclose that, the politics behind that relationship can really compromise the liberties that we all hold so dear. And when I zoom in on Mount Vernon, for example, and I look at Mount Vernon and we see, the problems with the fact that there's no budget yet, and the fact that, there's been no accountability for $170 million being mishandled and misspent, and then an additional $100 million that has been completely ignored and I believe stolen. But yet the authorities just totally look the other way and say, $200 million, who cares? I care. You should care. It's the reason why rent is so high. It's the reason why the roads are busted and broken. But yet people come to the community and profess they're going to help us. Meanwhile, we got raw sewage spilling out everywhere. So the monies that we need to fix the problems we have, we can't fix it with what we have because the authorities don't seem to care about it. And meanwhile, the lives of good, hard-working police officers are put at risk. The lives of the community are put at risk because the police officers can't get the resources, training, and support that they need from the administration. And then you go down the line, the same thing goes for DPW, same thing goes for fire, same thing goes for recreation. If we can't help ourselves, who can we help? So now that I look at all this, and we're confronted with a situation where there's clear bias and injustice, how can anyone expect to get justice if, the justice system won't even, deal with the bias that it is, reflecting right now?
Well, the justice system is, it has its rules, its traditions and customs, but to your larger point, you get back to the simple observation, follow the money. And you would be surprised, that obviously when we would do criminal investigations or civil investigations in the Eastern District, following the money trail always led you to a very interesting result. And a lot of people do a lot of crazy things if they think they can get away with a large stack of bills. When it comes to Mount Vernon, of course people need to focus on their own lives, the day-to-day decisions they have to make, the anxieties that they're under, and they think, honestly, that they really don't have much in the way of extra wavelength to deal with the politics of this world around them. So their focus might be on the potholes in their street or the lousy electrical service because the wires keep falling down in the storm or the garbage is not being collected. Mm-hmm. But those are symptoms of a bigger problem and a greater municipal dysfunction that sadly, it's not just Mount Vernon, but Mount Vernon is in the news because Mount Vernon's crisis is not only local politicians and the Westchester group, but it stretches all the way up to Albany, where for years the state controller ignored the pleas of you, among others, and of course the Mayor Council ignored the many reports I issued until you were out of office, and they waited another year before even doing anything. And all they wound up doing, all the controllers in Napoli's report wound up doing was confirming everything that you had said. And their recommendation was, we recommend that the rules be followed in the future, and that's it. You know, that's not helpful. I don't know what, if anything, the Westchester DA is looking into. It's pretty clear that the Attorney General, Tish James, is looking into nothing in Mount Vernon. And so the only recourse for the people is to make noise. They need to get together and use their constitutional right to petition the government for the redress of grievances and have protests. And maybe they just have a couple of people who are there, you know, verbing 24/7.
We're going to pick this up when we come back from break. Don't change that dial. You're listening to What Happened Here at 1460 on your AM dial. So as you hear, everybody, we getting into it. And as you can see, we went from top all the way to bottom, from the state to the regional to the local, and how it all impacts, you in different ways, be it a parking ticket, be it a permit to use the park, or, trying to fix your home. Why are things so broken and frustrating? Because there's obviously two sets of rules. And when you look at the examples that are smacking us in the face, it's, this is what and why we have this show to ask the question, what happened here? So when we get into this final segment, we're going to unpack what else you can do to try and, make sure that your representatives know that you are frustrated and you want to see some actions from them, or you're going to take it out on them when it's your turn to vote them out of office. And right now, there's a big campaign being launched. In June, there's a primary for statewide offices, and there will be elections for local offices next year. So, we're going to be talking about all these issues as we get closer to those dates. But for right now, we have big issues that are happening that affect us. In Albany, there's a big debate going on. It's going to last, this next week or so is really going to be make or break when it comes to what it means to your electric bill. Because you have a proceeding right now where Con Edison, the utility company, is seeking to increase their fees and their rates by at least 11%. And if they increase their fees by 11%, that means your electric bill is going to go up by 10%. So if you're paying, let's say, $500 a month for, gas and electric, you're going to wind up paying $550 for gas and electric. And then once you add on what the state of New York is trying to do, that's another $150 to $200 on top of your bill. So you're talking about a $250 to $300 increase on a monthly basis for your electric and gas bill in New York. That's what's being discussed right now. And that's monthly. That's not, over the course of the year. That's every single month. And these are the things that, public officials, mayors, council members are all signing on because they're not paying attention. They don't get it. And that's what frustrates me as someone that understands what it really takes to run a municipality, run a city. But look, we're coming back from break. We're going to lay this all down and unpack it. Get ready. Here we go. Still my coffee, guys. You see, I'm working hard. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to WVOX and Whitney Global Media Station. My name is Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, and you're listening to What Happened Here. We're here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. unpacking the issues, asking the question, what happened here? With today's topic is Albany. What's going on with the budget? What's happening here with respect to how it impacts you locally, but also there's an issue that's right here happening right now in the schools, especially in New Rochelle, where costs are increasing, but there's no control on those costs. So what happened here? What can you do? Our guest today is Charlie Knapp, backed by popular demand. Charlie is a former AUSA from the Eastern District, former Manhattan ADA, also former City Inspector General of Mount Vernon, someone with a lot of knowledge that was talking about what you can do to redress grievances that you have with the policies, with the procedures. And we have a caller that called in. Caller, thank you for joining What Happened Here. Thank you. Yes.
I was Sales Commission yesterday. She was stop mentioning the mail. Very good point. No solution.
Yep.
No solution. Like, my house or something. But the guys who were the room crying, a lot of this heavy police light utility bill.
Yep.
I addressed it to USC thing, and I don't know what it was just a thing. Bottom line is, who is for public debate?
Yep.
Before I do things of that, which, I use or more, 270, I think 75.
Mm-hmm.
1,174. That increase. I'm going to have $300 increase for the month. And I said to these guys, I don't know dance around all the issues back and forth. You guys, all this stuff. That's not what you do. Since I know the people that you guys really with politicians. That's not the message. There's only going to be an increase. And the Democrats going to get a little more from me. But that's my life. You let me set me if you want something.
Thank you. Thank you. And Vince, I want to add to that, Vince, I want to add to that very briefly. What's being proposed in the budget right now by, the Assembly and the Senate, and this is where I encourage listeners like you to call your local senator and assembly member and tell them to vote how they feel. I say vote no against the energy packages until we can fully understand the costs. So that's where I stand. But I'm hoping that people that are listening and watching email, call, message your local officials, be it mayors, assembly members, senators, definitely, and tell them no, because what's in the budget right now, Vince, is going to raise your electric bills another $200 to $300 a month, on top of Con Ed's requested delivery charge increase. So you're already talking about a $300 increase based on your percentage, right? So now add another $200 to $300 plus on top of that, based on what's being proposed in the current budget.
just trying to provide this county.
Hey,
Anyway, but they wanted to be these politicians.
that's right.
So you have two votes. That's going to look at the rules right now.
And you know, one more thing, I want people that are listening and watching to know that this means that if you go to wash your clothes, you have a washer and dryer, you go to a laundromat, or if you have one in your home, right? And if it's powered by gas, you have to remove that gas-fire-powered, machine. Or if you have a gas-powered stove, you have to eliminate the use of gas within the next 3 years in your home. These are the proposals that they're coming up with. Now, I don't want to make this about, we're trying to protect fossil fuels. We need a runway to land this airplane. Right now we're flying this plane. We need to land it like an airplane and not land like a helicopter. Because when you land an airplane like a helicopter, there you go.
How much we got to do the utility and the gas in our car. I'll give that for free. They're connected.
Well, that's why we have platforms like this, and we ask the question of what happened here, because there are listeners listening like you, there are people watching online that are commenting, and I can only tell you that people do respond when they hear the real facts, and they're given a chance to decide on those facts, because that doesn't happen enough here. And that's why we created this show, asking the question of what happened here, because there's so much happening and it's hard to keep track of what really matters. And what matters is and that's why I give much thanks, and I thank you, and I thank Mr. O'Shaughnessy and the whole WVOX team for, welcoming me back and creating this space, because, look, lots of things have happened. We've seen crime explode, bail reform. Nobody wants to talk about it. We got to do something about it. Call your legislator. We see the utility bills going. Thank you, Vince. And we see utility bills, everybody, going through the roof. And as you heard Charlie discussing before break, you had, a double standard of justice. Right now, we have a very dear friend of mine, someone who I admire, love, and respect, being treated so harshly by the justice system. Meanwhile, they did nothing to the extent of what this Westchester judge did, or what the sitting top state level officials have done, and merely just apologized for, but yet no accountability. And this is where, when you look at the contrasted against Mount Vernon missing $100 million, Mount Vernon missing $170 million. So for a total of close to $300 million misspent. No accountability, no charges for those that were responsible for misspending people's money, creating the mess. So this is why we have to ask these questions, so that we can get to the root of the issues, and so you can know that these people that are smiling in your face, claiming to be your friend, went to high school with them or whatever, they're not making the right decision for you and your family. They're raising your costs and running you out of town. So I'm looking at this as someone that loves Mount Vernon, that loves this region, loves this state, and wants to see the best. And that's why we have to ask the questions and do the thing that power hates, which is ask questions to those in power. Because the more questions you ask, the better answers you will get. And if you don't show up and vote, if you don't show up and raise your voice and raise your questions, raise your concerns, they're going to continue to raise costs and rip you off. And that's the basic summary that we can give. So we hope that after the show, you pick up the phone and call your senator, you call your assembly member, you call your councilman, you call your legislator, whoever you have to call them and tell them what you think, leave them a message. They will get the message, and they will know that you understand what happened here, and you want to make sure it gets fixed. We appreciate you guys joining this show. Charlie, any final words?
Yeah. official to give basic information on which they are relying for their policy. Get the facts from them. Make them work for you.
Yep.
Maybe the facts make sense. Maybe they don't. But unless you get a chance to look at them, you're not going to know, and you're just going to be flying blind. So be informed and organized. That's my recommendation. It's America.
Well, I tell you now, we definitely have a lot to work through and a lot to work on. And what happened here is we can continue asking the questions of what happened, because the answers we've been getting can't be shrug your shoulders. It has to be stand up straight, stick your chest out, and make sure that you keep your 10 toes down to confront the issues that are in front of us and solve them. There's no reason why Mount Vernon should have the problems it has when it has so much resources available to it that it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So what I can tell you is I appreciate all the listeners, all the viewers, all the folks that have participated in the show. Charlie, WVOX, all the callers, Vince that called in. We look forward to continuing this conversation next week. We're going to pick it up again. We may have another show about Albany, what's happening, because what happened here needs to be fixed. Thank you for joining us this week. It's been a great show. See you next Wednesday at noon. Everybody. That's a wrap. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.